Welcome to the world of some edibles, where there's a variety of CBD and THC delights. Whether it's cookies, brownies, or rice cereal bars, Some Edibles has what you're looking for. Milligrams of CBD and THC on the label will help you discover your magical number. Not too little and not too much, just right. Order at someedibles.com and use coupon code DRUNKEN for 10% off your order. That's coupon code DRUNKEN for 10% off your order at someedibles.com. Hey everybody, welcome to Drunken Housewife Reviews. I'm Sarah, the Drunken Housewife.
And I'm her host husband, Ian, who just tries to keep her on the rails best I can.
And it's a full-time job. This interview is all about Ian. I'm just here for eye candy and to throw in my 2 cents when it happens. You want to introduce our guest this evening, my love?
Well, the incomparable Stewart Huff, who is residing where right now?
Athens, Georgia.
Athens, Georgia, but originally from Kentucky, a small town Kentucky called
Campbellsville.
Okay, never heard of it.
Yeah.
No interstate.
No interstate. You have to take 27 back roads to get there, and there's no stoplight.
That's it's grown apparently since I left, but yeah, it's a small town. There's no interstate, no port. I think we had a railroad, so at one point there was a railroad you could watch go by.
Oh, okay.
You got to have entertainment on a Friday night, man.
Well, yeah.
Sure.
You can only go cow tipping so long before it just gets boring.
Well, we haven't reached that limit yet, but apparently there is one.
Oh, but I've been waiting to. I've been a big fan since I've listened to the album, and it was like on a general Spotify or something where you had come up amongst atheist comedians, and it was the Stewart Huff probably. There were some bits off that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy sounds pretty intelligent. I should probably give him a listen, and I'm glad I did.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
But I wanted to get into you talk a lot about having to grow up in the mindset of where you're open to everything, but everybody else is pretty much kind of closed-minded, and just having to deal with that amongst that closed-minded community. And because I totally relate to that, because I grew up in Peru, Indiana, and it was very similar. And so I kind of gravitated toward that as like, oh my gosh, this guy gets it. Just having to deal with all the craziness around you, and you just trying to logically get through it.
Yeah, I think I don't know about you or there's stages I think a person goes through, which is frustration about the closed-mindedness around you, and then maybe confusion, and then anger comes in at some point, and you go through all these different things. And I think, I'm 50. I'm at the point now where at least part of it, I'm not saying I agree with it, but I understand it more than I did when I was younger.
Yeah.
The herd mentality, the comfort, the fear-based. I already know everything I need to know. I don't need to learn anything else. And so if you kind of understand a little bit where they're coming from, I think some of that anger dissipates a little bit. And, at least in my case, it changes. You can have a conversation without getting mad, and and maybe I think you can do more good that way, I think.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, there's something about 50, I think, being a magical number in a person's growth, where it's like you hit your 50s, because I'm 56, so you hit your 50s and you're just like, I call it the fuck it 50s. It's like, this is who I am, and if you can't deal with me, that's fine. I'm not going to lose any sleep over you not liking me. I'm not going to try to change who I am to make you like me. This is me.
Yeah.
And I found a lot of people like 50 is that magical number where they're just like, this is it.
Yeah, fuck it, let's just do it.
Yeah.
Whatever's coming next.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I definitely feel that. It's I you know, I'm I'm more interested now in having an honest conversation with someone
Mm-hmm.
than I
Yes.
am in trying to change someone's mind. Me, it's more like I'm talking to someone. You mentioned being an atheist. I'm talking to someone and they're telling me this and oh, that's fascinating. Have you ever read this book or what? And maybe, do you know what I mean? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think you can actually subject some ideas into someone without the anger. Do you know what I'm trying to?
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
totally get it. If
Yeah.
somebody's open for whatever viewpoint without getting mad, I'm all about having a conversation. Like, okay, tell me what's going through your noggin. How'd you get to that place? So
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. And then you can, speaking about the church, just in specifically, you know, someone will say to me, I don't know, I've never read the Bible, and I don't know these things that you're talking about and these inconsistencies
Mhm.
or blah blah blah. I just like going. I have friends there, and so then you realize, oh, this person isn't really a believer. They just found a community,
Well, that's true.
which,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah. It's
it's
more
Definitely.
about the community than it is the message.
Yes. Yeah. Some
Like,
people are just like, I'm amongst people and they're cool with me, so I'm cool with them, and we'll just kind of hang out. So there's nothing wrong with that.
yeah. And I think when I was 25, I would never have listened long enough to get to that place. I would have been pissed off in the first 2 minutes of the conversation. What if you're a Christian and you've never read the Bible? How could you not read your own pamphlet?
Exactly. Oh my God. Are you talking about like one of the first
But
times that you got drunk and you tried the jalapeno moonshine with Pedro's family and you threw up on a chicken?
yes, yeah, I remember that. I
a
don't remember.
chicken.
I don't remember the story I told, but I
Okay.
remember it. you. I remember throwing up on a chicken at Pedro's house. But Pedro's a good example of what we started talking about. Pedro was
Yes.
his family's from Mexico, and that was a whole bag of worms in a small town.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I can
Mhm.
imagine. Keep going. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah, exactly. And I just didn't get it. Like, I don't understand why people are mad. It was confusing to me. Like, why are you mad? Pedro's cool, you know, and his family's cool. And they were the best part still to this day. Pedro's parties were the best parties I've ever been. I, I don't see how anybody could top those parties. It was incredible, you know.
Sweet.
And yeah, and getting drunk at Pedro's house and moonshine. I grew up. I knew what moonshine was. Jalapeno moonshine. No, no, no. You know what I mean? But that it's still. I can still kind of taste the disgustingness
I
of
feel
that.
you. I feel you on that because in college, Canadian Mist and apple cider.
Mm,
It tasted very, very good going down.
yeah.
Absolutely delicious going down. Perfect fall drink. But later on, when I was throwing up all over this guy's mink bedspread,
Oh.
yeah, yeah. And he was still hitting on me while I'm throwing up all over his mink bedspread.
Well, I'll say that for the mink bedspread is he doesn't stop.
You
He's
know,
I
but to,
I the ball.
to this day, I smell apple cider and it's like, ooh.
Yeah,
Oh
there's
my
some
gosh. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
those kind of, I don't know, sick drunks. You know what I mean? When oh, those just stick with you in your memory. They just never.
Forever.
Oh man. Yeah, which is fascinating to me because I was never a drinker. I think I've been drunk like maybe like 6 or 7 times. That was actually like in my 40s.
Hmm.
So I did miss all that. Now we're talking about other substances. It's like I've seen some guys face kind of meld and pulse And I'm like, I gotta go now. So that's about the closest I came to actually being that drunk. I think I got sick being drunk once, and that was enough for me. I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah,
But
I
some
don't
people
know.
do it over and over. So I was like, all right,
I
whatever's
drink
your
more
thing, man.
in my 50s. I drink more now than I did. I drank when I was a kid a little, just, kids sneaking beer and this and that and whatever.
Mhm.
But there alcoholism runs in my family, and I saw the bad side of alcoholism. I mean, I don't. I guess you could argue there isn't a good side, but you know, I saw the horribleness of it. So I steered clear of it when I was in my 20s and 30s, and but now when I'm at work, I have a drink or two. You know,
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, all right with it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with a drink or two.
No, you
I
go right
mean,
ahead. It's whatever works
Right.
for you, man.
that's how
I'm
this
just down for
podcast
whatever.
got started because I got drunk and started ranting and raving about something. And while I was drunk, he talked me into this podcast.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Let's be crystal clear. She was while she was drinking, she says we should start a podcast. It was her idea, and I called her on it, and she's like, "Well, okay, can I have a drink before?" I'm like, "You can do whatever you want. You can be totally sloshed into it. It's our
It's a
podcast."
right. Yeah. Well, are you happy with the decision? You're still doing it, right?
Oh, yeah.
We're still doing it. I've had fun. I'll admit. You know, we've met some interesting people, interviewed some
Yes.
interesting people, interviewed some people that it was pulling hen's teeth to try and come up with questions.
Oh, that was interesting.
Yeah, but
Little dry they were.
little
One or two were a
dry.
little dry.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. What led you to
Oh, that's yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, what led you to comedy, to getting up there and just throwing it all out for the masses and
Um, the honest answer, and I could not have told you this at the time, but I didn't possess the insight, but I was running away. Look, in my older age, looking back, that's what happened. You know,
I totally get
my
that.
father's a good guy. I get along with him, but he's a workaholic and he's a suit and tie. He was gone before I went to school. He came home at 8 o'clock at night and had dinner and then sat at the desk and worked. And he's a workaholic. And I was in college and I really did not want to end up in a cubicle. And
Yeah, I get that.
I was scared to death of it. So I quit college, dropped out, and then went on stage and started telling stories, like throwing up on a chicken and whatever. And I just kept doing it. And there have been multiple times where if I had any other option, I would have taken it.
Well,
I
see,
do.
go ahead.
Yeah, there are things I really like about it. But yeah, I mean, it was a mistake.
Okay,
okay.
but it seems to work for you.
To me, I think it takes a certain amount of bravery to begin with to get up there and just, start just like I said, just throwing it all out there and seeing what sticks and what doesn't. Because I know I wouldn't be able to do it at all.
Well, half the battle is trying to win people over to your side at the beginning and have them follow you along your mental journey of that night, and that's a hard thing to do every night. It's like, hats off, because I do a little bit myself, and basically we're talking about the fuck at 50. I'm up there and I'm just doing what I think's funny now. It's like, fuck it, I just do. If you like it, if you don't, I don't care. But of course, my stuff's a little weirder. But we're not here to talk about that. Well, I'm here.
Yeah, when I started, I was just the idea of how do you make a group of strangers laugh?
Yeah.
I don't know these people. They don't know me. What do I have to tell them to get them to understand why this story's funny? All that kind of stuff. And when someone's telling you a story and they're horrible storytellers and you're just staring at them like, what are you talking about? And it seems to go on forever. And then some people are really good storytellers. So
Yeah.
what is the difference? and all those kind of questions, and it's a puzzle. So at the beginning, all I wanted to do was make people laugh. That's it. Figure out that skill, that craft. And I began doing that. And then after about, I don't know, year and a half, 2 years, I had a collection of jokes and stories that did the job. And I got so bored. I was just so bored. Oh, I remember, like, I don't remember how, I was 6, 7 years in or something. And I drove to some bowling alley 10 hours away from my home to do a show. And I hated everything that I said on stage, everything. It worked. It made them laugh, but I hated it. And then that night at the bowling alley, they hated it too. Like
Oh,
the audience hated it. And I went back to the hotel room and I thought, no one in that room liked that. Like me included. So I drove all this way for nothing, and it was horrible. So I decided I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to say exactly what I want to say, and we'll figure it out. And I started talking about, being an atheist or whatever I wanted to talk about.
yeah.
And when it didn't work, then I would say, I wonder why it didn't work. And then I would tinker with it and toy with it and, you know, try to figure out how can I communicate this idea in a humorous way without giving up on it. I'm not going to give in. They don't want to hear it. That doesn't bother me. But I will figure it, I'll try to build a bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's
And
that Oscar Wilde quote. It's like, if you're piss people off, better make them laugh or they'll kill you. Is that kind of a mentality? Yeah.
Yeah. If you're going to tell people the truth, you better make them laugh or they'll kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is fascinating. So, and that I still love that. I love that idea that here's what I'm gonna say. Here's what I believe. And most of my shows, Ian was just at one of my shows a few days ago. Most of my shows are in front of people that don't agree with me. So
Yes.
you can be, your options are quit or go up on stage and yell at them and tell them they're dumb and you're smart, or try to figure out, okay, how am I going to communicate with these people? Which turns out to be the most interesting puzzle. So, yeah, I understand what you're saying about it's hard to get up there and it takes guts and all that. But, I think you fail enough and you get over that.
I can totally see that. Yeah. I've started doing acting again. That was my first thing that I did, and I kind of circumvented the whole winning people over, although I did win the crew over. But then I just kept going by kind of got together with some people who like what I do, and I've got instant approval. For you to keep doing that over and over every night is a tough thing. It's like at this point, I don't give a shit, but that's beside the point of, say, a 22-year-old kid, trying to make people laugh, like you were just trying to make people laugh. So it's a whole different kind of a dynamic. Now, how long was it the first album that you started integrating your philosophies, or was it earlier than that?
I think it was a little bit earlier than that, but
Okay.
my first album, I was still struggling with how do you, what I actually enjoy, what I actually like in comedy is not what they want to hear. So, and it's not only content, it's also structure.
Yeah.
So, how do you, I was trying to figure it out. How do you make that work? And so my first album has some pieces on it that are me attempting to reach further and do what I want, and by the second album, I'm now it's me at that age, at that time. That's what I wanted to say and do,
Okay.
and it kind of peaked with an album I put out called God Hates Anne.
Yes.
And that's the best thing I've ever written. I don't know if I'll ever write anything better than that. Probably not. But And that was the most fun. That was a giant puzzle, lots of high hurdles, and I mean, how am I
Yeah.
going to, how do you make people laugh about people being murdered, and which is
Well,
what
they
that,
were hilariously murdered, though. I mean, if you're actually going to put that like in a comedy, you could make that into like a fictionalized, not semi-fictionalized comedy film as vignettes, and it would totally work. I mean, just the outrageousness of the extents of everybody.
yeah. I
Were
mean,
they stabbed with squirrels or something? Or
Oh, you should probably tell her a couple of your favorites from that.
uh,
And yeah.
I'm so bad. You know what? I mean, here's the way COVID changed things for me,
Oh,
but
okay. I didn't mean to put you on the
pre-COVID,
spot. I'm sorry.
oh, no. Pre-COVID, the way I was working for about a decade, or not quite a decade, was I would work on an hour of material and then record it and then dump it. It's all gone. And I would begin a new one
Okay.
and struggle with it, until it was ready. And then, but whenever it was recorded and done, boom, gone. It's almost like I deleted it from my mind,
I get
you
that.
know?
I can
Yeah.
understand that. Yeah.
So, but I had this thought one night or it was probably a night, to be honest, that I think someone had just been murdered in South America trying to save the Amazon, and I'd read an article about it, and literally all they'd done was protested, and they were murdered, and I just thought, I wonder this behavior is ever going to change. This person expressed an opinion.
Yeah.
They didn't plant a bomb. They expressed an opinion and they were killed. And so then I had that thought. I wonder if you could show the same behavior throughout all of history,
Yeah.
repeat over and over and over and over. So I started to research and find people that had been murdered for saying something, writing something, or discovering something. Not physically attacking anyone, nothing, just, and I found a ton. I stopped at like 2,800 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it got too depressing. And so I started going up on stage and telling about, this person in this year, this is what happened to them. And then I would have a joke or two. And sometimes the audience would be like, oh, that's horrible. And I'd be like, all right, and mark that one out. I just
Next.
kept going. Yeah, I just kept going, trying to find them, and Joseph Priestley was one of the people that discovered oxygen, and he shouldn't have done that. Yeah, a church fueled mob. And I always loved that sentence. I got that out of a history book. It's a mob fueled by church. I absolutely, it was like a big mob of people with torches. He discovered oxygen. He basically said, this exists.
Yeah.
And,
how dare you? How dare you tell people that it exists?
And they were like, the hell it does. And they went to kill him, and he heard them coming, and he escaped, and they burnt his laboratory to the ground. And then they went to his home and burnt his home to the ground. And that whole thing is hilarious to me, because for a fire, you need oxygen.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, the interesting thing about Priestley is he actually wasn't killed. He escaped London. He ended up in Philadelphia and was buddies with Benjamin Franklin. But yeah. So I learned about all these historical people, and some of them, who's the guy's name? I'm blanking on his name. Once I recorded these CDs, I deleted it from my mind.
Oh, yeah. It's all good.
Yeah.
Oh, I almost had it. Philosopher. He wrote a book, and in the book was this sentence: God did not create man; man created God. Convicted him of heresy. We tied him to a stake. I say we, and that was another interesting thing. Is should I say them or we? Because I'm trying to establish this is human behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Repeat. So if you think you're better than this, then you know what I mean? We're all human.
Yeah.
We're all
exactly.
wrong. So anyway, I almost had his name again. I blanked on. Anyway, we tied him to a stump. Okay, beat him severely, tied to a stump in the center of town for writing that sentence in a book. Then we ripped his tongue out with pliers. Then we took him, his tongue, and his book and burned all that down to ashes. Then we put the ashes in a cannon, lit it, and fired his ass out of the city. Yeah. That's Roadrunner Coyote level.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, I know
Yeah.
like the writers of Saw for the like very first movie, and I don't know, maybe subsequent movies, trying to find ways to kill people that were inventive. A lot of
Mhm.
the ways that they came up with came from the Spanish Inquisition that was
Wow.
led by what? The church.
Yeah.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
know, and they were like, it was they just started researching all of these torture methods, and they're like, you know, in the Spanish Inquisition, and they're like, what the hell?
It's yeah.
You know, yeah, let's torture somebody and then they'll come to the church. What?
Yeah, I mean it's like the
Yeah.
Inquisition musical number from History of the World Part 1. It's the same guy. Yeah.
Yeah. How long? Yeah, what? It's only 10 seconds of a song you can sing, so I'll stop.
So, but yeah, it's the same kind of mentality, and just bringing that comedic light, like that the Spanish Inquisition is just. Are you getting some more people like warming up to that by showing those ridiculous extents? I mean, are you like anybody going, oh my God, really? And then actually listening to more of what you have to say. Did that happen at all, or do they just immediately shut down?
Yeah. I mean, it is interesting. I think there were times when I was creating that show that I went what I thought was too far, meaning I'm not interested. Well, that sounds horrible. I didn't write the show for people that agree with me.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense.
Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
my line, where my line is, or where people that agree with me with their line is, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in people that disagree with me. How can I make an argument, a comedic argument, and lay it out there? Because if you cross the line too fast, then they shut down and they're like, screw this hippie.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
If you approach the line and dance around and then push it a little bit and step over it occasionally, you know what I mean? You can dance on. That's what I've learned. That's the way you actually get people that come up to you after a show and go, wow, I don't know. I never really thought about it that way, but yeah, we have been killing people for just writing stuff. That's stupid. And you
We're
can
just
go,
thinking. Yeah.
yeah. And then you can go, yeah, it is pretty dumb, isn't it? You want to have a beer?
There you go.
You know, and the
Yeah.
next, you're in a conversation,
Yes.
instead of a yelling, shouting match. And,
Yeah.
it sounds grandiose, but yeah, it happens probably 2 or 3 times, at least 2 or 3 times every year, where I actually make a friend, where someone we'll talk after a show and then they'll send me a Facebook message and we stay in touch, and someone that I don't agree with.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah. I mean, I can truthfully say where we live, we're the unicorns. We are the liberal tree hugging hippie freaks.
Yeah.
And in
Yeah.
this Republican like bubble. And so, my saying is I can't swing a dead cat without hitting a Republican. And the majority of them are people I went to high school with, that I'm still friends with, and all that is just, they were raised Republican, and so Republican they will be.
Yeah.
But, I was raised by parents that taught me to question, that taught me to, do my research, that, don't follow the crowd, think for yourself. And, it's kind of that interesting dynamic, so to speak, because I know I have, friends that have voted against things that I believe passionately in, but I know yelling and screaming at them isn't gonna solve anything, but being their friend and showing them, you know,
Well, you
these,
she
yeah,
was
this is
definitely
my
in
life.
a,
These are my friends,
yeah.
you
Well,
know.
you're definitely in an environment where that was pretty much allowed as far as like being able to talk about different things and just actually discussing,
Mhm.
which I had the opposite. My mom and dad were born again Mormon,
Hmm.
and I grew up mostly with that. And they listen more now than they did then. You know, when you have the I was the only son, and then my dad, and then we're bonking heads when I'm 17. You know, it's
Mhm.
that kind of bullshit. But I mean, we're better now. But it just seemed like I had more of that around me than you had that around me. So it's interesting to listen to her tell her stories about being able to talk to others and all these crazy adventures. And I'm like, you did what? And she's like, yeah, it was the 70s. There you go.
Everybody ends up in a whorehouse by accident in the 70s.
Sure.
Everybody. You know,
Of
you're
course.
supposed to be on West whatever and you're on East whatever. And, you know, it happens. It happens. Not maybe to you.
Yeah. So she still blows my mind with did I ever tell you about? I'm like, no, that was interesting.
He's like,
That
what were you
happened.
never taken away from your parents as a child? I'm like, it was the 70s.
So, you know, it's
Dead.
Maybe the 70s was the peak of humanity.
I'm thinking
well, I believe
because
in Devo.
you know,
I think Devo had it down when there's like just de-evolution. Things are just kind of going backwards with it. It just, I don't know. I don't know.
I think the world was much kinder when everybody was high most of the time.
I would say so, but they
Because
were
you're
like,
just more interested in finding snacks, you know?
yeah, but in what I grew up with is the kind of the opposite of that, where Barbara Mandrell and the Mandrell sisters, the Osmonds, Sonny and Cher, even Sonny and Cher was way too liberal for my parents. So there you go. It was a
Right.
weird dynamic of that clash that kind of continued on in the 70s.
Lawrence Welk.
Yeah,
I
had
think
to
it's,
listen to some Lawrence Welk. Yeah.
yeah, I think my upbringing was more like Ian's. You know, it wasn't more. I mean, my parents are what I consider American Christians, which is if if they're asked, then they'll tell you they're Christian. If they have to check it on a form, then they check Christian. But you know, we the only times we ever went to church was when I got in trouble. You know,
Oh, okay.
so we didn't actually go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, so it's American Christian. You know,
Gotcha.
so, but it was, you know, why are you listening to that music? My mother would go through my room and take things that she didn't agree with, and you know, Richard Pryor album or whatever, and it would
Yeah.
just disappear. And it was more conservative. It was more like, don't make waves, just do what everybody else does. But I just, I don't know if I'm right, but I think that a certain percentage, and it's not big enough, a certain percentage of people are just questioners. That's just what the way their personality is. They just question. And if you get lucky and are born into a home who says, yes, that's a good idea, you should do that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
then, but if you're not, it's a struggle. It's a big, huge struggle because once there's a, you know, an infrastructure of conservative behavior or liberal behavior and people start to question it, then it crumbles. And that's hard to raise kids like that.
Yeah.
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 You know, it's like I have way more sympathy for my parents now than I did when I was a teenager
Oh,
because
yeah.
I might have been right, but what are they going to tell me? Yes, you know what I mean? There is no rhyme and reason for anything, and there is no God, and everything's random. You know, why would
Yeah.
you get that?
Yeah.
You
I
know what I
think,
mean?
yeah, I think my favorite quote ever, and I seriously think about getting this tattooed on me somewhere, was when Patton Oswalt's wife died and he found like scraps of paper that she had written stuff on. And one of the scraps of paper said, "It's all chaos, just be kind." And I'm like, that is just like perfect. It is all chaos. Just be nice to people.
Yeah,
Just, you know, or as he says, just don't be an asshole.
right.
You know, and I'm like, boom, there is my philosophy right there. It's you know, everything
Yeah,
is chaos. Just try to be nice to people. Just
Yeah.
be nice. That's all we're asking.
Be
Stop
nice
being
and
a
have,
Karen,
be,
you know?
be nice and have friendly conversations.
Yeah.
There you go.
You know, because, I told him one of my favorite memories from college, and this was before the apple cider and Canadian
Oh.
misinstitute. No, it was after that. A friend of mine was craving McDonald's breakfast, and there was one within walking distance of campus. So we went to McDonald's for breakfast, and there was this older woman. She had to be like 75 if she was a day.
And this was mid 80s.
Yeah. Wearing, the costume jewelry and all of that. And we're looking at her and we're like, she's got a story. She has to have a story. And we bought her breakfast and just sat and listened to her for like 2 hours, just talking about her life. And it turned out she was one of the working girls in one of the many mob friendly houses of ill repute in Terre Haute. So she had a lot of stories.
Yeah.
But would we have heard any of those if we hadn't taken, like, I think McDonald's breakfast at the time was like $5.
Sure.
$5 and 2 hours of our time, and we got to listen to amazing stories that this woman had to tell.
That's fantastic. That's this point in my career. I don't remember how many years I've been doing comedy, but I think that's definitely up there. Is I go to different towns almost every night. I talk to people that why in the hell would I meet anybody from Effingham, Illinois?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I live in Georgia. Why would I even be in Effingham, Illinois? And then I end up sitting down on a bar stool and listening to somebody who tells me incredible stories.
Yeah.
I'm enamored with the lifestyle more than the actual, since COVID kind of knocked me off my stride.
Yeah. It did that to everybody. Yeah. Totally get it.
Yeah. And I had, I had a stride going. I was working, I was creating, material, and then it kind of knocked me off. And now it's just kind of like the other night when you were at the show, Ian, and we were talking about this, just whatever. I just having fun and talking to people. And, that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that either. It's just how you're feeling if you want to do something a little more theme based later on, nobody says you can't. It's just do whatever you think that you need to do right now as far as creative wise.
Yeah.
It's like, I totally get that.
It's all chaos. Just be nice.
Exactly. It's just, that is like I said, I keep thinking I'm gonna get that tattooed, but first you have to have money for tattoos, and
Yeah. I like that quote. I'd never heard that quote, but I do. I like that.
Yeah. When he did it, and the stand-up he did right after his wife passed, like the first one he did after that, and he said that, I was like, it was just one of those moments where it's just like light bulb, like it just hits you in this way, and you're like, yes, that's the philosophy I've been trying to describe all these years. Is just, I don't care what your politics are or what my politics are we nice to each other?
Yeah.
That's all I care about. Let's just be nice.
And the people I've actually learned the most from are, oddly enough, I don't agree with them. It's very odd. I mean, I'm thinking of an example. Like, I did a show in Indianapolis years ago, and this guy came up to me after the show and said, "Hey, I really liked what you did." I said, Thank you. And then he said, "Can I ask you some questions?" And we talked. And after about 15 minutes of him asking me questions, I said, "I'm tired of talking about me. What do you do?" And he said, "I'm a preacher at the Methodist church here." And I said, "Really? And you liked what I did?" At the time, a big story about the girl that I was dating had an abortion, and talking atheists and all this. And he goes, "Oh, I loved it. You brought up so many good points and questions and all this stuff." And we're still friends, and I've learned so much. I have so much respect for that man. I just don't agree with it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because I know we kind of have the mixed marriage because like I'm ordained and I also have a minor in theology, bumped onto my college degree.
Right.
And I'm married to him.
Uh,
And we've been going strong for 26 years.
that's
It's
great.
just there's so much other stuff in the world to agree or disagree on that
One of my favorite relationships that I've ever seen that I would consider successful, which I've met very few that relationships that I consider successful. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Friend of mine, I went to her wedding, and her parents, her mother is devout Catholic, 5 day a week, involved in everything that goes on in that church, knows every the whole thing, complete. Her father's an atheist, and he drops her off at the church and then goes to Dunkin' Donuts and then goes up,
Yeah.
And I talked to both of them. I found that out and I was like, oh my God. And I went to her and I said, does this bother you? I don't know. Why would it bother me? That's his belief. And I, after talking to them both for a long, I actually felt like they weren't kidding. They weren't thinking, well, one day I'll convince her or one day I'll.
Yeah.
It's just so rare to see that kind of, you're allowed to, to believe what you believe, and I'm allowed to believe what I believe without resentment building up,
Yeah.
Oh yeah. One of the things I wanted to ask specifically, being from the Midwest South, had you ever thought at the beginning to do like the whole like mainstream comic thing as far as like New York or LA and that? What were your thoughts? What were your thoughts on that?
I moved to LA. I don't even remember the year. A guy that I had worked with a couple times on the road said, "Why don't you move to LA with me?" And this has been a while. This is at least probably 15 years ago. And anyway, I ended up moving to LA. I lived there for approximately 1 year. I went dead broke. I loved the town of Los Angeles because Indian food at 2 a.m. Are you kidding me? This is amazing. Friends of mine would randomly call and say, "Hey, do you want to go see a Buster Keaton movie?" What? There's a play. We're not going to rent it and on a DVD and watch. No, they're going to show it at a theater. Oh my God. It's just so much stuff that's available. The comedy was horrific for me because I don't really have an interest in building 5 minutes of funny jokes and trying to get on television. I attempted that route because that's what you're supposed to do. But I found out very quickly, I'm not happy. So I don't understand the point of continuing to try to do this if it doesn't make me happy. So I just left. I just decided, this isn't what I want to do. And I threw every single thing that I owned into a dumpster and got in my car and left. And I've been running around mostly the South and the Midwest, for the last 15 years. When I left LA, I knew I wanted to build big pieces, hour-long things that connect. And I wanted to try to get people in a Holiday Inn bar that are drunk and pissed off about the nacho cheese to laugh at them. So it was a very low bar goal.
I'd say it's a more of a noble goal as far as like trying to win people over where goddamn well they probably won't, but it'll be the fun trying.
I know, it kind of reminds me of that scene in Tootsie where Bill Murray's like, "I want to open a theater that's only open when it's raining."
Yeah.
I love that. And he's like, "I don't care if there's just one guy in there trying to get out of the rain. I'm gonna, and it's like, it's a goal.
I mean, what he said is absolutely true. Like, it's he said something like it's a noble goal if it makes you happy, and that's it.
Mhm.
I would go into a bowling alley and do a show and fail and be way happier than I was standing in line in Los Angeles to try to do 4.5 minutes
Yeah.
to try to do an audition for some show. Nothing against it. If people want to do that, it's fine, but I
It's
don't
not you.
it's not me, it's not who I am.
Yeah.
And I've been even broke, and when I fail, I'm happier now than I was then, you know?
Mhm.
So enjoy it. I mean, I don't that whole I've done shows in New York. I've had fun because I know I'm leaving. And
Okay.
I saw some friends, we hung out, so good to see everybody. I did a set and I got on a plane and left, you know.
Gotcha.
And
Yeah.
then I went to Terre Haute and did 60 minutes at a bar, and it didn't work. And then I went back to Red Room, tried to figure out why.
Well,
Well,
you
I
might
mean,
have probably been at
in
that bar. Yeah.
that's where like my entire family is from.
Yeah, and
Both mom and dad grew up in the area.
Yeah, and I graduated from there. Keep
Yeah,
going.
yeah. It's the creosote in the air that's affecting their brain. It's not you. It's not you. It's that smell. If you have to you have to deal with that smell your entire life, nothing's funny.
Oh, and you never forget it.
You never do.
Never forget that smell.
You never do, especially when it's August and it's 900 degrees and the humidity is 1,000%. That smell just like
It's humid, rancid
Oh.
paper mixed with God's farts.
it's yes. Rotting dead
Right.
bodies do not compare to that smell. Just talking about it right now, my nose is like,
Oh yeah, you never forget it.
you
Oh,
never
God.
forget it. So it wasn't you, honey. It
Oh,
was not
God.
you. It was the
Oh.
creosote addled.
You both went to Indiana State?
We both went to Indiana State
And we
at
didn't meet
different
it.
times.
And we didn't meet in Indiana State. It's a fascinating story.
Yeah.
Wow.
We never met. Well, because we were both at Indiana State at the same time. I never met him. And then like I left I was invited to leave Indiana State.
Yeah. No, I think you left because I started my first year.
No, I was invited to leave.
When did you leave?
And then I made it through my freshman year.
Okay.
Barely. And then my sophomore year, they were like,
Well, that was 86 and 87. I started in 89. I just missed you.
but I was still visiting friends. down
Oh,
there.
true. Okay.
'Cause I
Well,
still
that's
had
more
friends.
technical.
Yeah. So I still, yeah. But we didn't meet until they invented this thing called the internet.
Wow.
Yeah.
We were an early internet success story. In as much as this was in 97 when this happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is-
So,
Yeah.
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 And it was my ex-fiance teaching me how to surf the web.
irony.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there you go. But
But-
anyways, let's see here. I just wanted to I do like the talking about the God hates Anne, and I like the compiling shit, suggesting shit, that kind of and people freaking out. But these two I just want to kind of bring us back to where you start incorporating your agendas, your thought process, this, that, and the other. But I love these two quotes. No amount of human anger will change the truth. I
Yeah.
really love that quote. And then you followed up with, we cannot redneck gravity to death. So I
Yeah.
just wanted to throw those out. Those were really good.
It's interesting, like we've been talking about, we woven through this talk. I wanted to say that no amount of human anger will change the truth. I want to say that. I have no idea if anybody in the audience is going to not punch someone in the face because they heard those words, but who knows? Maybe.
It's true.
Who knows? So I wanted to say it, but to just walk up on stage and say it is arrogant, and it doesn't work. You can't just go. People are like, who is this? So it took me a while to figure out, how can I say that? You have to earn, because there's no punchline at it. It's just a statement,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Boom, boom, boom. That little section, I would go back to the hotel room and tinker with it and try to fix it. And constantly. That's the part of comedy I like, until it gets to the point where, okay, the laugh on this previous joke is big enough to when I can now actually say no amount of human anger will change the truth. And then the looks on their faces are not like, who are you? They're like, yeah, I guess that's a
Yeah,
good point.
exactly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, if
Yeah.
you said that right up front, then people be like, "Get off the stage, hippie, you fucker!"
Right. Yeah. So it is like analyzing a conversation with strangers, and you're tinkering all the time. And, well, when I said this happened, and I don't want that to happen. So let me not say that again. you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's obsessive. It's an obsessive little weirdo.
Oh, I get it.
That
We
describes
totally,
you
yeah,
perfectly. Obsessive little weirdo.
I understand obsessive a lot. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I'm highly functioning autistic. I would say Asperger's, but then my obsession changes from like month to month. I have a different obsession. Right now, I'm obsessed with mixing together different musical styles, which called mashups, and they integrate these different styles, and I think that speaks to the different ideologies and stuff and making things kind of mesh in a weird way. And that goes back to like the conversation where you're making things kind of mesh in these ideas and just the vibe.
Which
So
is
I
what
like
I
that.
drink, because I've got this one obsessed about stuff. Then we have our daughter who's also autistic who gets obsessed about stuff. And so it's like,
Oh, well, yeah, go ahead
and then here I am in the
Yes.
middle with my
Well, I don't
wine
know.
going, I'm fine.
well,
Before we
this
go
I
into
forgot to. Oh my God, yeah, I wanted you to talk about your sister real quick if
Yeah.
you want to.
my son up at 6:30. It's I'm looking at the clock on the wall. Is it 6:30 now?
6:25 on my computer. But we can always bring you back. We can
Yeah,
talk bullshit
yeah.
whenever
Our
we
clock's a
want to.
little
all
fast,
good.
so it's all good. It's all
Okay.
good.
So, okay, good. Yeah, let's do another one and we can talk, because I'd like to talk about that, because I grew up with differently abled sister, and it changed. It might not be an overstatement to say that that is the reason I'm the way I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get that. Having my daughter, she's 24 now, and just the places that she's taken us, like mentally, for good and bad, just having to deal with all that just has definitely made us better people.
Mhm.
It's just insane.
Yeah.
But I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know it at the time, but I have two sisters. Both are younger than me. I knew this at the time, but the middle, one of my sisters is a lesbian. The other one's differently abled. And growing up, it just, that was my life. But you get older, and I realized that they taught me how to treat people.
Mhm.
That's what happened, because I saw what happens when you mistreat someone.
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw the aftermath of that. So without them, giving me a lecture or anything, they taught me, how do you treat other human beings. So they built this entire thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. That's the reality of it. I'm a straight white male from a small town in Kentucky. I mean, what?
Let's talk about the privilege you've got. Yeah. And it's,
I mean,
Yeah,
they built,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
one thing, and then I'm gonna go pick up my son, and
Yeah,
this will
yeah.
be like part one. We'll do a part two. But what you were talking about mashups, is that it sounds similar to Burroughs cut ups.
Yes.
Do you know about?
Yeah, I do know what you're saying, and there's a
Cut-ups?
bit of that in it. Okay, I'm gonna give you a video to watch. Okay.
Okay.
It's they mix together the B-52s
Mhm.
and Slayer,
Mhm.
and they mix in the vocals with the music in this.
Isn't it called Raining Lobsters?
Raining Lobsters
Okay.
And it's like Rock Lobster from the B-52s mashed up with
Slayer's
Slayer's.
Rain and Blood.
Okay.
It's
So
hilarious.
it's
It's hilarious.
It's just and just
there's your
the whole-
homework.
yeah.
There's
So
your
there you go.
homework. We'll bring you back for part 2, but there's your homework in between.
Awesome. All right.
I'm sorry, say that again. Your audio cut out.
Yeah. Just send me the link to that.
We
Oh,
will.
definitely.
Yeah,
Oh,
we will. We will.
I would be more than happy to send you all the crazy shit that's in my head and stuff I watch. I have not a problem with
You
that
have no idea what
whatsoever.
you just opened. what can of
So,
worms.
yeah.
Cans open, worms everywhere.
So anyway,
This is our moment, though. We're going to give you a chance to plug upcoming appearances. Where can people find you?
yeah.
All of that.
My next gig is October 27th, and I'm not trying to be funny. I don't remember the name. Clyde, Ohio. It is a barn in the middle of the corn.
Oh my God, I wish I could be there.
That could be
Holy
interesting.
shit.
That could be interesting.
I love it. I've done it once before, and you are in the middle.
Oh wow.
Too. So when on stage, there's corn 360. It's great. It's my kind of gig.
Oh my gosh, that's fun.
That sounds. Is that your theater that's only open in the rain?
Oh, I love it. I love it.
It sounds like it could be fun. Sounds like it could be fun.
Oh hell
yeah. Yeah. So, and then you have a website.
Yeah, no, I'd let all that go. I'm real.
Okay.
I don't know. You know, the social media stuff, it doesn't make me happy. So I just
I get that.
I'm not interested in that stuff. You know, like Ian found me. There's some stuff on Spotify. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, there's like stuff on YouTube and stuff too. They've like put your albums on YouTube and things like that. Yeah.
God Hates Ann is the thing that I'm the most proud of. You know, if you want to check me out, I'd probably start.
I'll get her up to date. It's all good.
Oh dear, I need more wine.
You'll enjoy it more with wine, I think.
Anyway,
it's not required, but I could see that.
Yeah. So anyway, it has been great talking to you. Wish we could go on forever, but we both have stuff, you know.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Life interferes.
It's all good.
You know, life just gets in the way.
This will be part 1, and I'll go ahead and put this up, and then we will figure out when's the best time to do a part 2.
Okay, that sounds great.
Sounds great.
Sounds great. All right. Tell everybody we said hi, I guess.
Yeah. Take care.
Bye now.
Okay.
Bye. Okay, so that was one of Ian's favorite comedians, Stewart Huff.
Oh my God, Stewart Huff is like, I did get to see him Kokomo, Indiana, at a golf club, where that was interesting. And was I enhanced? I could have been enhanced. We don't know, but it was a crazy, amazing show, and I was loving it. Evidently, I was in the back, and people in front weren't loving it as much as I was, but I didn't give a shit. I was crossing that off my bucket list to go see Stewart Huff. Whether it's enhanced or not, just listening to him, just listening to him, his flow of ideas is just amazing. So it's definitely a very unique perspective. We're going to have him back as soon as we can get our schedules worked out.
Yeah, and then
just as when this gets put out, or right before, I'm not flying anymore. Ian has quit the flying.
He has left the airplane. Well, not quite yet. He still has 2 more trips to go. But
so anyway,
he has left the airplane. So we're
going to do another occupation, which I'll get into at another time.
Yes, but we'll have some reviews coming up. Hopefully a couple more interviews. But until then, everybody take care.